Hey everyone, it's Mark from the Done Right Ranch. I wanted to do an update here of my heart surgery, and I've got a little bit of a complication that has come up. Not a huge deal, but either way, still a complication. So let's get to the intro, and then we'll be right back and talk about a few things. Hey everyone, welcome back. I wanted to give you a few updates, and I've got a little bit of a complication coming up here, and uh, hopefully not a huge one, but I want to talk about that and some of the progress that I've made so far. Um, anyway, I went and saw the doctor. I think it was this past Wednesday, and you can see I don't have the harness on anymore. And basically, I was relieved of having to wear that, which is good because I had to sleep with it too, and it had some nylon straps on it that I think you could probably saw a log with them on the edge. They were kind of sharp and brittle, and so it wasn't very comfortable wearing that, even with a t-shirt on underneath it, which I didn't like doing that going to bed too. And so anyway, that's all done. Also on Wednesday, he told me I could start driving a car. Now I'm still off until October 15th for riding my motorcycle, which here in Michigan, once in a while it's okay, but we're pretty much moving into fall and winter at that point. So, I mean, I'd ride in December or January if it was warm enough and there was no snow on the roads. And the bad thing about driving on the roads in Michigan in the winter is there's still a lot of salt on the roads. So if you go for a ride, when you get back, you want to get your stuff cleaned off, and that salt will make it rust. So I can't ride until October 15th, and oddly enough, Biketoberfest down in Florida starts October 15th. So I've already booked me a room down there. I'm going to stay a little bit longer. I'll probably be cutting my restriction by a few days anyway, but I'm going down from the 12th to the 20th, which I think Bike Week is the 15th through the 19th, I think. Or not Bike Week, but Biketoberfest. So I'm going to be going to that and be hanging out actually on the Gulf side of the state with Frosty from Frosty's Travels. He's on YouTube here, and that's actually how I met him. But I'm going to stay in a motel right by his house, and we're going to hang out and ride some roads that us tourists don't ever find. And then it's like a 2-hour ride to get to Daytona, and we'll definitely knock that out and get some footage of Biketoberfest and stuff. So, yeah, that's going to be in October. That's going to be my first ride, providing, the world is back alive by then. So hopefully it will be. All right. I got some notes here. I'm still not fully with it here, and I wanted to make sure I covered a few things here, so I got a few notes. I also, this past Wednesday when I went to the doctor, I'm huge now. I can move the earth. I went from a 5-pound lifting restriction to 10 pounds. So I can lift that gallon of milk now. Yeah, that's awesome. So, another thing here is, I've had an incredible amount of people, both locally around here and even people on YouTube that live close to me. There's a gentleman that lives near Stockbridge, and he's been more than awesome. I'm sure you see his comments on my videos if you read them, and his name is Philip Milks. And, we were going to schedule a meet here, but, I'm just not quite right yet. And it seems like every day I've got doctor's appointments and physical therapist. I have, not right now I don't, because I got a procedure coming up here, but normally I have a physical therapist coming twice a week, an occupational therapist coming twice a week, and a nurse coming twice a week, plus squeezing in a few doctor's appointments here and there. So it's been kind of a hectic schedule in that end, but hopefully here pretty soon time will start to free up, and I'll, be able to have people over and stuff like that a little more. So I've had, a lot of people help out or want to help out, which is awesome. My sister, I mean, she's sleeping at her house, but she's here for the most part all day, every day. She's running my groceries and, whatever I need, and taking me to the doctor and that kind of thing. And so I've basically given her my car until all of this is over, because she has kind of an expensive car, and I hate her to put a lot of miles on it just running around for me. So I give her a gas card, and I give her my car, and she's kind of my personal driver now. So that's pretty cool. But my next door neighbor, Jerry, I do have a great neighbor on the one side. The other side, I'd like to put a 30-foot wall up in between us. But anyway, Jerry over here on my east side, he works for General Motors. He's been laid off for a while, but he's been mowing my lawn. In fact, he mowed it yesterday. I help him out, and he helps me out, and we just have a great neighbor relationship. So, a good neighbor's a little bit harder to find, but when you find them, it sure makes living in a place easier, when you can help each other. So the other thing I had going on here, and I'll get to a minute here, I wanted to talk a little bit about what all came about and how this surgery happened and stuff. But I had an Equinox, a 2015, out in the shop, and I had the cradle lowered out of it with the engine off the cradle. Basically it blew up, so I was putting in a replacement engine. And I got to the point where all I had left to do, like the day before I made the call here, I had the flywheel on the engine. I had everything transferred to it. It was pretty much ready to put in. So the next day when I come out, I just had to lift up the torque converter, which is not a very big torque converter in that car. I don't know what it weighs, but I'm going to guess 20, 30 pounds maybe. So all I had left to do was stick the torque converter into the transmission, set the motor back down on the cradle, and then, bolt everything together and hook everything up. So I was about 60% of the way done, I suppose, with it. And the next morning I went out, and Jerry was going to help me, because you do kind of need two people to put it on the cradle. I do it with a forklift, so somebody's got to run the forklift and somebody's got to line it up. So Jerry came over, and he was going to help me. I was going to run the forklift, and he was going to line it up. And I went to grab the torque converter, and I couldn't lift it. So, sometimes I blame that on old age, having to bend all the way over to the ground. So I got down on my knees, and I went to pick it up, and I still couldn't lift it. And on top of that, I got winded like I'd just run 2 marathons back to back. I mean, I could barely breathe. So at that point, we pretty much stopped for the day. Walking up to the house, I had to stop and rest again for a couple minutes. I just got so winded. It's, I don't know exactly, but I'm going to guess it's 250, maybe 300 feet from my door that I enter in the house out to the shop. And the last 100 feet or so, there's a grade. My house is on a little bit of a hill. So I couldn't get up that hill without stopping. I'm breathing really hard. So I went back into the house. I had talked about it in the last video, how I had an appointment, I think on the 3rd, and then they delayed it for a month. So I went back in the house after trying to walk up the hill and told him, called him up and said, I need to see you now. And I think this was on a Wednesday, but I'm not positive. So they got me in. They told me to come in on Friday, do a stress test and that. So I did. I went on Friday, and the doctor, his eyes were really big when he came out of the room where they put all their data together and come up with their conclusion of what happened. And uh, yeah, he was really shocked. I had three arteries that were, excuse me, that were 90% plugged, and my liver had quit working. And that's why in the last couple days there, I went from shortness of breath for a few months, but just once in a while to really, like I said, I couldn't pick up that torque converter. So I had three arteries that were 90% blocked, and my liver had shut off, and that's why it got really bad there at the end. And he told me basically, this was on Friday, that you need to come into the hospital Monday and be admitted. And they were going to try to do some stents, but he didn't think that was going to happen because of how bad the blockage was. So I went into the hospital on Monday. They ended up not doing the stents on Monday, but they put a pump in my, that came out from the artery near your groin. And that basically was, helping my heart pump the blood because, it was mostly restricted. So they did that on Monday and then scheduled me for open heart surgery on Wednesday. They also gave me some medication that's supposed to make your veins puff up a little bit, and that helped the blood flow a little bit. In fact, he gave me that prescription on Friday, and that about instantly ended the shortness of breath. So I didn't have that to deal with anymore. So yeah, we went and had surgery on Wednesday. I hope you can see this. Here, let me get up. So they took a vein out of this arm, and you can see it goes from my hand to my elbow, basically. So they also, on the back of my left leg, there's a little cut, and they took a vein out there also. So that's what they used to repair my heart. So I had the surgery, and the rest of it's pretty much in the history books now. Now I'm into recovery. But after I had the surgery on Wednesday, I think it was Friday, that my cardiologist came in and basically told me the reason he was so bug-eyed is, he said, without the medicine I gave you and the pump that we installed on Monday, you would have probably had about 3 days to live. So that was kind of eye-opening. So anyway, I kind of trailed off of the Equinox, but we'll get back to that in a minute. So I guess I felt like I didn't really leave any chips on the table, and not smart. So, if your feet are swelling up when you get up, you get shortness of breath, you have any pain in the chest, man, go get a stress test. Don't do what I did and be almost dead and then get it done. So the earlier you get to it, the easier that your process is going to be through it. So take care of your heart. I'm almost 60 years old, and I didn't always eat very good. I used to actually weigh about 270 pounds, and now I'm down. Well, I'm actually getting fat because of this. I was 175. I'm about 187 right now because, I'm still eating, but I'm not really getting in any exercise. So, but back to the Equinox, I had a couple guys in the area that I would trust to put the car back together, especially seeing how they didn't take it apart. And one of them kind of blew me off for a couple weeks, which made me a little bit mad. The other guy I didn't think would do it because, he works at a Chevy garage. He goes camping a lot on the weekends, and I just felt like he probably wouldn't have the time. So after the first guy kind of left me hanging, I thought, well, you never know, I'm going to call him. So I called, he's a friend of mine, his name's Jim. I actually started working, in the field and worked with him in the first place I worked back in, oh gosh, I think it was 82. It was shortly after I got out of the Army. Might have been 83 because I did work at my uncle's bar. I was going to work there for a few weeks and I ended up staying for a couple years. So, but Jim was at the first location I ever worked at. He was actually worked across the street, but the owner of the stations owned both of them on the corner there. So he worked at the Marathon across the street, and I worked at the Amco on the other side. So anyway, I called up Jim, and I don't want to say good news, but it was good news for me. The Chevy garage that he works at is basically almost shut down. They're only working a couple days a week. So he's on unemployment and he's laid off right now. So did kind of a 1099 thing with them, and he came out and finished putting this car together for me so I could deliver it to the customer. But start to finish, I had this Equinox about 2 months. So luckily it was a guy that I went to school with, and it was actually a third car, so it wasn't a big, hassle on him over it. So the Equinox got done. So I guess let me get here to what's going on. Since I've had the surgery, quite honestly, I haven't had very much more breath and stuff than I did right before I went in. And so I went back to the doctors today is Sunday, and this past week here, went and saw him again, and, was explaining that I just didn't feel like I was getting better. I can't walk. I don't have a giant house, but it's not a little teeny trailer either. And where I'm at right now in the back bedroom is at one end of the house, and my kitchen is at the other end. And by the time I walk from this bedroom to the kitchen, I'm winded, to where I got to sit down and I'm huffing and puffing and I got to get my breath back. So my heart, well, let me back up a little bit. I had physical therapy on Monday this last week. And, I know, for me, I worked pretty hard. I was breathing really hard when I got done and stuff. And, just the day before, it wasn't nearly that bad. And it's been that way ever since I had physical therapy. So that's when I made the appointment. We went in and they did an EKG on me and different things. And it turns out, my heart was in AFib when I got done with the surgery, and I had some medicine that was supposed to level that out, and for some reason it got even worse. Whether the physical therapy had anything to do with it, I don't know, because, it was hard for me because I'm trying to recover, but the reality is it wasn't hard, so that shouldn't have caused anything. But so what they're going to do now to try to get my heart right is this coming Tuesday, I have to go to Sparrow Hospital for probably the day, and they're going to sedate me, and then they're going to shock my heart and try to shock it back into rhythm, because right now it's super erratic. So if you put a heartbeat monitor on me, you'll see it go anywhere from 45 to 115, kind of up and down, not quite this fast, but maybe like this. So that's why I feel really crappy, and I don't have any energy. And although I still have a little numbness up here, I don't really have any pain at all in my chest. I would say I have like a discomfort level of maybe 1, pain level of 0. My arm, I'm having some pain in that. It was numb, half of my hand and then over my wrist, and then almost my whole arm, just the top of it here wasn't numb, all the way up to my elbow. And I've been getting some pain in it. For some reason it seemed like my elbow hurt the most, but they'd had to deal with some nerves and stuff. So That's kept me up at night quite a bit. I don't get much sleep now. I actually slept pretty good last night, and I got about 5 hours, where the night before I got none. The night before that I got two. So it's kind of been that way. I get one decent night's sleep, out of maybe every three or four. So I've been actually the last couple of days putting my arm on the heating pad, and I've noticed, when I did this to my hand before, it felt like I had somebody else's hand. I didn't feel it at all. And now I can feel it, and I got most of it back in the arm. There's just probably an inch on either side of the cut there that I am still numb. So I've got this big scar. I'm going to distract here a little bit. Once it all heals, I want to get a tattoo to cover it. Now I'm thinking like a couple of snakes wrapping around my arm with their head up here. But if you want, give me a comment on what you think would be a good tattoo for there. But I kind of just want to hide the scar. I'd rather have a conversation about the tattoo than I would my scar. So let me know down below in the comments, if you got a good idea for a tattoo. I may even do it this, in October. It just depends how healed this is. So when I go down to Biketoberfest. So yeah, I'm going in the hospital on Tuesday, get this procedure done. If that doesn't work, then they're going to go up and they're through the groin again, and they're going to go into my heart and cut some nerve endings there that, the doctor explained it in real simple terms. It's the relay that makes the pumps work, in conjunction with each other. And I have a defibrillator installed here, but it's programmable. And they said if they had to cut the nerves, then they'd program it to also be a pacemaker. So that will probably, if I have to do that, my guess would be I'd be in the hospital a couple days anyway, maybe 3. So, that's what's going on there. Now, I'd like to do a video every week, but I'll tell you, until I start to get some energy back, it's hard. So, we'll just have to play it by ear. Hopefully Tuesday, that'll fix me up and stuff. So anyway, I'm going to end this video. I don't want to get super long. Please like and share and subscribe to the channel, and give me a thumbs up. Would help a ton, especially now when I don't have much good content to put out. So I will be doing Biketoberfest, and I'm sure I'm going to get some stuff this summer, but I haven't even heard, but from what I did hear, they're considering even shutting Sturgis down this year. So just have to see how things plan out, and then just kind of go from there. So thanks for watching the video, especially if you made it to the end here. I'll have to see you later. I'll try to keep you updated as best I can. If you got any questions or anything, just leave them in the comments, and I try hard to answer them all back. So anyway, have a great day, and we'll see you again soon.